It's been called the Jewel of the Ozarks. Every year, thousands of paranormal enthusiasts visit Eureka Springs to stay at the haunted Crescent Hotel. But just down the road in the historic shopping district sits another hotel with its own haunting tales. Towering over Spring Street, this limestone building is listed in Ripley's Believe It or Not, as every floor of the 7-story building is at ground level due to it being built into the side of a mountain. The Basin Park Hotel is known as the sister hotel to the Crescent. While its history isn't as morbid, the Basin has its own checkered past. We sat down with Keith Scales, a familiar face and someone who knows the history.
I'm going into my 5th year as a manager, and I've been working here for about 7 years. And the first couple of years I was a ghost tour guide, and I thought the stories that were behind the sightings were a little fanciful, so they let me investigate them and try and get the facts, the history straight. The mystery is still a mystery, but the history, at least we can get that accurate.
Eureka Springs was founded around a spring believed to have had healing properties. People came from all over to treat their ailments.
This is smack in the middle of the town of Eureka Springs. In fact, it's steps away from the original spring that the town developed around. It's probably 20 paces from here to the Basin Spring itself. Well, Captain Joseph Perry was a guy who built luxury hotels along the railway lines. And he got sick. He came to Eureka Springs, took the waters, and he got healed. And in gratitude, he built this hotel that was particularly for the people who were here for the waters. And then there was a big fire. Actually, there were 4 big fires, and each fire took out a quarter of the town. 2 of them came right up to the door of the Perry Hotel and spared it. But the 3rd one started in the kitchen of the hotel, and it reduced the whole hotel to ashes, and along with the quarter of downtown. And so then the ground sat empty for about 8 years, and a guy called William Duncan, who came here from, he's a mystery, we don't know very much about him, but we believe his ghost is here. He came, apparently had a lot of money, and he decided to build a hotel on the same footprint, and he built this one.
One of the more interesting things that we've learned in filming this show is how easily places can be connected. For instance, the man who constructed the Basin Park Hotel also built the Queen Anne Bed and Breakfast, one of our locations from season 2.
They opened in 1905, and it was the town center. Everything was here. The Chamber of Commerce was here. The schools would hold their proms here. The fire department was here, was housed here in this building. And so it was like the civic center. Everything that happened in Eureka Springs was based in here. The hotel had been owned at various times by a guy named Claude Fuller, who was the mayor of Eureka Springs 5 times. He became a congressman. He built Highway 62. He put in the dams that created all the lakes around here. And he helped Social Security through. And he was one of the biggest movers and shakers we've ever had here in Eureka Springs. His family is still here. And he owned the Basin Park, and he owned the Crescent at various times. Well, he had a favorite nephew whose name was Joe Parkhill, and Joe was going to become a lawyer, like as Claude Fuller was. But just before he was about to take the bar, he said, "Screw it, I don't want to be a lawyer, I want to be a musician." And he went off and he started a jazz band, and went up to the clubs in Chicago and hung out in Chicago in the 30s. After the war, Joe came back to see his uncle, Claude Fuller, here in Eureka Springs, and Claude Fuller gave him this hotel. So he took this place over, and the Crescent Hotel was sitting empty at the time. So he called his friend Dwight Nichols in Chicago, said, I got one hotel, the other part of Eureka Springs is available. Well, Dwight had some uncles of his own, so he got some investment money, and he bought the Crescent Hotel.
The hotels were tied up with an influence from Chicago, and illegal activities associated with the mob soon followed.
At that time, selling drinks over the counter, it wasn't a dry counter, but you couldn't buy drinks over the counter. And of course, vice was illegal and gambling was illegal. Well, Eureka Springs was a pretty wide open town, and Claude Fuller was sort of politically conservative, but he was a drinker and a gambler, and as everybody else was. So every night in Eureka Springs, there were big stakes games going on. It moved around, but there was always one going on here.
Among the participants were the local police, the mayor, and various socialites. The gambling and drinking was held in what is now the Lucky 7 bar. But for some, they weren't quite so lucky.
Well, the one that we know about was there was a guy playing a game and he was losing, and he was staying at the hotel, and he told the guys, "I'll just go up and get to my room, get some more money." And so somebody followed him, and they found him sneaking out one of those walkways that go straight out to the mountain outside, and he ended up with his throat cut somewhere on the second floor. And several times since then, we've had incidences of people turning up red lines around the neck, and feelings of being choked, feelings of there seems to be a leftover there.
Through a radio contest birthday celebration known as the Barefoot Ball. Each year the parties grew in numbers, and the parties got wilder.
And there were also dances and games going on up at the Crescent Hotel, so people would kind of pop backwards and forwards between the hotels for party night. Well, then the law changed. There was a new sheriff came in. His name was Sheriff Dewey's, and he decided he was going to clean up the town, and he was going to bust the hotel on the night of the Barefoot Ball. So the Highway Patrol tipped off Joe that this was going to happen, because the Highway Patrol liked the games and the gambling too. And so he kept that door-marked storage closed till about 11:45, and everybody's, and they're saying, "Hey Joe, can we have a game? Can we get a drink here? You know, it's a Barefoot Ball, a big night of the year," and he's watching all this money evaporate in front of his eyes. So eventually he caved. He opened up the doors, and pretty much instantly the cops arrived. As soon as people got the beer in one hand, actually the hard liquor in one hand and the cards in the other hand, door to the elevator opens and out steps the cops. They bust everybody. Later in the night, they busted the Crescent Hotel. They took the slot machines out of the room we're in now, which was called the Elbow Room, where they had 4 slot machines. They took them away, they busted them up, and they burned them up, with the ladies from the church standing around applauding, singing hallelujah. There was a period when it was the Perry Hotel, when one of the famous people who stayed here was John Chisholm. And he was a cattle baron. They called him the King of the Pecos. You got the Chisholm Trail, which is spelled O-L-M, and then you got this other guy, Chisholm, his name is spelled U-M at the end. And they were both cattle barons, and they both moved cattle from Texas up to the stockyards. John Chisholm is the one that John Wayne made a movie about, which is mostly about John Wayne, but it's kind of loosely based on the John Chisholm story. Well, John Chisholm came here. He had a tumor on his neck. He came to take the waters. It didn't work for him, and he died in the hotel day before Christmas. And then his body was taken back to Texas, and he was buried there. But John Chisholm, we believe, has been seen, or at least what's been seen is on the 3rd floor. We'll see a cowboy will appear in room 312, then he'll be seen in room 314, and then in room 316. I think those are the 3 rooms. So what people have surmised is that he's walking around in the old hotel, which had where the corridors were in a different place. And in his world, he's just walking along a hallway. In our world, he's walking through walls. He's going from one room to another. There's a young girl who comes laughing down the stairs into the lobby. and goes across the lobby and out in the street, and then she's never seen again. And she's been seen several times. There's a girl, apparently, I think it's on the 3rd floor, again, maybe it's your room, who knows, who apparently walks into the room and pulls back the bedclothes and attempts to get in bed with you, and then she sees there's somebody in the bed, and she looks as surprised as you would look, and disappears in a hurry.
Other claims included seeing shadows in the ballroom, as well as physical contact with the living.
All right, guys, so we moved over to room 312, and what we're doing right now is we're setting up pretty much a still camera because we're going to do an EVP session while Carmen and John are in the room next door, 314. So I just got my good old trusty tripod here, setting her up so we can capture the full room, so that if anything comes across from them doing their EVP session, we're going to capture it.
So one of the biggest issues whenever you investigate a hotel is that you're going to get contamination from other guests or other things surrounding you in your room. Outside of this window, there's actually some people in a jacuzzi. You can hear their voices. So that's going to be an issue with us recording audio. The other thing we want to check for is the EMF in these rooms. I'll be turning on the TV, going around, checking the refrigerator, checking the air conditioner and all the outlets to see if there's any EMF being put off, something that we can monitor throughout our session. So right now, I haven't even really begun doing a sweep, but I've just turned this on, and the base reading, what is that, 0 now?
Mm-hmm.
It was just at 9. The frig. 0.2, 0.6, 0.7. See if it goes any higher if I get lower. 0.8. 0.7, 0.6. Now it's going back down. That's weird.
Yeah.
Coming back up here. 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. Since the voices of the people outside was contaminating the audio, John and Carmen went to room 514 to conduct an EVP session. When I was right here talking to them at the door, I was getting like a 1.4.
That's crazy.
See, it's going up. 1.1. Okay. Let's see. What? There's
What could be caught? Good God!
5.6 right here in the hallway.
Right in the center.
5.5. Is it these? Goes down a little. Five two. 5.1. Let's see that down here. And then it dissipates down here, or what? Five seven 6.4 6.8 7.1. Batman. Let's do this. Okay, so we're about 8.5 EMF up here. So here in the hallway at least. Oh, there it goes. Now it's going back up. There's something right here. See how far.
What the?
Okay, maybe it's not just here. something with this area here. And you know, I can kind of feel it. I'm not one to be like a sensitive or nothing, but if I turn it this way, it goes down. Turn it this way, it goes up. So either something above or below, because it was at 8.5 on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Something right there is putting off a massive amount of EMF.
Put it up against the wall. Zero.
I know you're trying to keep up with it, but 0 all over. 0.2.
0.7.
This looks like a hole. There's a hole here. And then there's a joist right there. So let's go right here. 0.6. But I mean, is that 0.6 from something from the floor?
Right.
But what I was saying, you know, I'm not as sensitive or nothing, but walking over here, you can feel this from walking over there. So if people are having experiences in this room, then it could either be attributed to the hypersensitivity to the EMF out here in the hallway. They're just experiencing it as they go to their room, or a combination of the EMF and the limestone rock powering some kind of entity. I think if I were to go either way, I would have to say more likelihood is people are hypersensitive to this EMF. So let's go back into the room and we'll keep checking and see how the EMF in there compares to the room next door to us. Yeah, I mean, there's even EMF coming out of this bathroom. This place is full of EMF. Of course, old buildings have the old wiring. Sometimes they don't all get shielded. Electronics will put off EMF. In fact, I bet when this TV comes on, there might be a little bit of EMF as well. So with what's going on in the hallway, people passing over it and then coming in here, I mean, they're exposed constantly to some EMF. So that's probably the main contributor to why people are experiencing things here. But we can't be for sure. We still have to check out the other side. We're going to go to the next room, check it out, see what the EMF is like over there. You want to leave that over here? Or?
Yeah, I'll leave this over here recording.
Okay, this is 510, room 510 up on the 5th floor. Are there any spirits with us in room 510? If so, could you please let me know what your name is? If you would please, we're not here to harm you. We're just here to gather evidence of spirits that live in this hotel. Can you tell me how many spirits reside in this hotel?
So we checked next door, we've checked in the hallway, and we've checked in here. We've established that there is legitimate EMF throughout the hallway and in this room. It's pretty flat in the next room, except for in the bathroom. So what we're going to do now is try to establish some communication to see if there's actually anything paranormal here. We're going to do an EVP session, and we're going to do about 15 minutes here, 15 minutes in there, and we're just going to review it after we do those. For anybody that's here who could hear the sound of our voices, we're not here to scare you, we don't want to harm you. We just came here to talk. That was me moving in the chair. If you could hear the sound of our voice, please come towards it. I'd like to introduce myself. That's somebody upstairs. My name is David.
And I am Barry.
If you can see us, can you come towards us?
That's me.
You alright?
Yeah, I just feel something heavy like on my chest. May just be the feel, but
If you could look over by Barry, there's a black little box that has a red light on it. That is a recorder, a voice recorder. Talking into it might allow us to be able to hear you. And when we say talk into it, just get close to it and talk at it.
Are there any little children, perhaps a little girl, that lives in this hotel that people see running around? If so, can you tell me what your name is, little girl?
Is there anyone from Chicago that used to stay in this room?
Can you tell me, has there been any deaths, suicides or whatever, or murders in this building?
As Barry was reviewing the audio, I went to the bathroom. At that moment of privacy, I heard a voice.
can you tell us about the illegal acts that were committed here? You okay?
Has there been voices going over on that?
Should be illegal.
Pause it.
What happened in there? I heard you say, what the f?
So while I'm pissing, I hear, while this is going, somebody whisper questions.
What?
I heard questions, and then I heard something else over that.
Yeah, I heard nothing besides a creak that I ended up, as soon as I go to rewind it, I heard you go, what the f? I'm like, I don't know.
That was weird.
And is
The
shit
first word I
against the wall?
Huh?
Against the wall?
Against that wall.
It's on that?
The first word I heard, plain as day.
Questions.
Questions.
Damn. Wish this was in there with you.
Right. We know it wasn't the people outside because by this time they had already left.
That's me shaking around. Alright, so me and John have come down here to speak with you. We know there's a lot of history. A lot of things had went down in this building. And we're just here to get the story. So if someone would come over here and speak with us, we have something that will allow us to record your responses. It has a red light, and it's sitting on a chair right over there. Can you start off by telling me your name? We may get slight contamination from them. Were you someone who used to come here to gamble or drink?
Well, that was cool. Well, that was dust flickering like that. Broken beam over here. As I was looking this way. See how my hands breaking beam?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so there's a flicker of light above.
Interesting.
We're hearing footsteps in there. Hello? Somebody up here?
So any spirits down there in the basement, we got a device right there where you can use some of the language that's broadcasted across the radio waves. You can make it like your own voice.
So whenever I ask you a question and you talk through this, I should be able to hear you so I can respond. Can you please tell me your name? Now you may have to suck up some energy. You can borrow some of my energy that I have so that you can speak to us. There's a bunch of electrical lines around here you can borrow energy from as well. So if you would, please just suck up as much energy as you can so that we can speak. Again, what is your name? How many people have died at the Basin Park?
Not letting any signals or nothing in here.
Huh?
I think the rock formation is not letting any signals whatsoever in here.
Yeah. getting faster. Something's right in that box area out there. It's right above us.
Sounded like it was coming out of that square part right there.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't see any nothing wet nowhere. Like it was inside behind there, some rock or something. And it was buried somebody behind the wall.
I tried playing some music. I know this was the ballroom. What era of music do you like? The weird sound. It may have just been my ears messing with me with all the air. But it sounded like if somebody had like a big dress on or something and they were like pulling at it. Like
You heard that too? That's what I heard.
yeah, back this way?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
heard
what I
that too. Yeah, that wasn't your ears. I heard that. Or let me move it across this way.
Not long after, Carmen and I went back to the room for fresh batteries. We were puzzled by what we had found.
When we came down here, we introduced ourselves. Can you tell me what my name or my colleague's name is? Can you tell me when this hotel was built? So we know this hotel was built in the year of 19 what? Can you finish that year? Huh?
Not getting much of anything.
No, not really.
Well, he's dead down there.
Yeah. Can you tell me, is there a person by the name of Ben? Is there a person at the hotel by the name of Joe?
Is there a little girl that's here? Her name is Elizabeth. What is that?
Felt like it's a Levi.
Is the little girl's name Elizabeth? Yes or no?
So when Carmen and I got back to our room, the lights in the room were off. I'm pretty sure we left with them on. We left them on when we left the room to go get Barry and John downstairs. We're gonna see if they turn off again. That was kind of weird. Overall, the night was uneventful. Aside from a couple questionable experiences, we were unable to come up with any evidence of the paranormal. But that's not to say that we disproved it. Numerous guests and investigators have reported occurrences that go unexplained, and some have documentation. So, are there spirits residing in the Basin Park Hotel? We'll let you decide. Spend a night at the Basin and see if you experience its haunting history.